Hey family, my name is Joe and I'm an addict. And it's a good day to be clean. And I always say that when I first start talking. Because if you don't think today is a good day to be clean, just do what I do. Take about 20 seconds and think about your very last night out. And compare it to this moment and tell me today ain't good.
Okay.
See, that's all it takes for me. It don't take much more than that for me to let me know. See, the theme of this convention is service, service, service. And service is so important. And it's not just there just for the sake of the fellowship. It's for my sake as well. And, one thing I like to do is I look around the room, I see we're all spread out in this one. I need y'all to help me out a little bit. Could everybody just stand up and look to the person to your left and your right and give them a hug and say, today's a good day to be clean. All right. Now tell me, now, wasn't that good? That was good. And see, because our literature talks about getting that hug, It talks about how important that hug is. And I can remember that hug when I first came in, when I was all scared on the inside and didn't know what to feel, didn't know what to do. And an addict came to me and hugged me and said, you never have to use again. And for some reason I heard that, And guess what? He was right.
Yeah.
He was right. Let me tell you a little bit about me. And tell you how I qualify for this here. And then we're going to go into the stuff that we do. I was born in the South. I was born in Jackson, Mississippi. And I was born in the 50s. I ain't going to tell you the rest. I was born in the 50s. Right? And Mississippi in the 50s wasn't a great place for African Americans, believe me. I had the experience of growing up thinking my mother didn't like me. Right? And I truly didn't understand it as a kid. But as time goes on, you'll see it in the story, it changes. Now think about my mom being a divorced black woman in Jackson, Mississippi in the early 60s with 5 kids on her own making $1.25 an hour. Ooh-wee. Yeah. So I understand the fact of what it feels like to miss a meal. You know what I mean? I understand the fact of what it is to struggle. I didn't understand it then because, I thought she just didn't like me. I look like my dad. I look like my dad. Me and my dad look like, the only difference, he's just a little darker complexion than I am. And matter of fact, my dad's family is like real, really dark complexion. And my mom's family is light. And I came up somewhere in the middle, so when I came around, first my dad was like, who is that? That's the first thing. And my mom got a resentment behind that, how dare you? And then when they got a divorce, it almost looked like it was my fault, right? And she made her, let it be known. And so I grew up with this thing. And this is what I found out later on in recovery. When a man doesn't trust his mother, he trusts no women. No women. And I came to grips with that. But then as I, also in the 60s, I watched, this was also during the time of the civil rights movements and stuff like that. And I watched all my heroes die or get killed or go to jail. So that began that feeling of hopelessness. I already don't feel like nobody liked me at home. And then the people that I thought that I looked up to, they were all getting gunned down or going to jail. So I was hopeless at that point. And so I started developing these defenses real early. Like, through my dealings with my mom, I learned to never let you see me cry. And through that never let me see you cry, it grew to shutting down all my emotions. By the time I started using, I was neither happy, sad, mad, or anything. I just didn't care. I just didn't care. And I didn't understand that. And later on, I'm going to tell you how the program affected that. So I was in pain. And didn't know why I was in pain and didn't know how to get rid of the pain. From an early age. As a kid. And it created this hunger for answers as to why. Why? So my older brother and I was sent to my grandparents. So, to help, at that time I thought she was just throwing me away. But in all actuality, 6 kids in Mississippi on $1.55, $1.25, she was trying to save our lives. I didn't get that though. I didn't get that. Kids looks at things from a kid's point of view. Right? So, my grandparents were Pentecostal, sanctified by the blood. I lived in church as a kid. You hear me? I practically lived in church. It wasn't nothing to be in church 4 or 5 days a week, every week. Every week, So I grew up with that understanding of what God is. That fire and brimstone and hell and damnation. And the thing that bothered me was, as I grew up, especially when I started becoming a teenager, was I wasn't feeling what the people around me seemed to be feeling. So I just knew I was going to hell. Right, with gasoline draws on. I was going to go to hell. Right, with no doubt about it. So I looked for all kinds of ways to try to fit in. When I was in church, I tried to be as solemn and as hopeful and as prayerful as anybody else, but that didn't necessarily work for me. When I was in the streets, I tried to be just as cool as you, just as slick as you, and just whatever. But that wasn't me either. Because, see, here's the thing. I'm basically a nerd. My wife will tell you, I'm just as geeky as I want to be around the house. Just as geeky as I want to be. But I've always been like that, but you can't be like that on the streets. Right? We grew up in the suburbs of Chicago in a city called Joliet. And Joliet is if the CB handle for Joliet is called a bad boys town. It's called a bad boys town because there's 3 maximum security prisons within a 5-mile radius of Joliet. Right? And seeing a lot of times when a person get out of prison, they don't want to go back to the rat race of Chicago. They come to Joliet. So that's the influence that I grew up in, with that mentality. And the thing about it is in Joliet, it's just like being in any other major city in this country. You got your pimps, you got your hustlers, you got all that street glory. And I was never none of that. See, I ain't gonna never tell you that I sold keys of dope. I ain't never did no stuff like that. I ain't got no jail story. The first time I went to jail was a year ago. I spent the night 22 years clean. Went to jail a year ago. Spent the night in jail. Failure to appear on a traffic ticket. They locked my butt up. I'm sitting at home. I'm sitting up in jail. I call wifey and she goes, "You where?" I'm in jail. They locked my butt up. DeKalb County do not play. Right? So I didn't have a jail story. So when I first came into the fellowship, I really didn't know how I fit in because I heard all these stories. See, I first came into the fellowship October 27, 1987. That's when I first came into this thing. right? And I used to hear about these people like I was on death row, and you know, and I sold this and I did all that. So I didn't think my story had any value, because I worked and got high. You know, I worked and got high. That's what I did. You know, I ain't never been a thief, but I would help you sell what you stole. Right? I would help you sell what you stole, but I wasn't a thief. Right? It's just so fact that I knew I could put the buyers with the sellers. You know, and get something off of both ends. You know, that was my thing. Right? But I was never really a true criminal, so to say. I did criminal acts by being a part of that, but I wasn't a true criminal in a sense. But I had that persona when I was in the street that I was. Right? You know, our fourth step in the works how and why, it tells us that this is a person that we invented. You know, this is a person we invent. So that guy that I invented, it kept me because, you know, one, look, I'm little. Right? And where we come from, you're either predator or prey. And I didn't want to be prey, so I had to act like a predator. I was like here's the chicken farmer. I had to be the highest crackling rooster in the I had to do that, you know, just so you wouldn't mess with me. But in reality, I was scared to death most of the time. You know, fear was a big part of my life and a big part of my using experience. But I hadn't identified it. See, I hadn't identified it. You see, and what happened was somewhere along the line, I found the program at Narcotics Anonymous. And it wasn't by accident. I told you I came in 1987 the first time. I ain't no one-chip wonder. I would love to tell you I am, but I'm not. I stayed clean for 5 years. And I worked myself around the program and not in the program. I was what you might call a 3-step wonder.
Come on, Joe.
For 5 years. I was a 3-step wonder. Afraid to go and take a look in that 4th, 5th, and 6th step because I was afraid of what I would see. Right? And guess what happened, y'all? After 5 years, I would like to tell you that I had some tragic thing that happened and it made me relapse with nothing going wrong. Matter of fact, everything was going right. Job was going fine. Family was going fine. Kids in college. All kinds of things. Everything was right. But in the back of my mind, because I have never looked at myself, I had this vision of what normal is based on what I have seen on TV. And I was looking for that state of normalcy that wasn't real. I told myself that all I wanted to do was go after work and hang out with the boys after work and go shoot pool. The disease of addiction is very, very tricky. Because for 6 months it allowed me to go and hang out with the boys at the bars and shoot pool. Drinking Coca-Cola. Clack, clack, right? One day, this is even more trickier. One day it's even more trickier. It allowed me to have 1 beer and go home. I said, damn it, I'm normal.
Come on, you better share that. Come on.
I'm normal.
Yes.
You know? Good to go. I'm normal. Hey, life is, it's fine. I can do this stuff again. 3 months later, I found myself at the company a Christmas party, standing in the bathroom, staggering in front of the urinal, and one of the guys that I work with said, "Man, you can't go home like this. Take a hit of this." For the next 2.5 years,
Damn it.
the next 2.5 years, I was just caught up. And let me tell you about that 2.5 years. One of the worst things in the world to do is to have experience and exposure with this program and know what to do and too stubborn or too shameful to do it. See, guilt and shame kept me out there for almost 2 years. See, because y'all came You knocked on my door and to check on me, and I peeped out
Yes.
the curtain and wouldn't answer the door. You called me. You called me. But I wouldn't answer the phone because I knew it was you.
Yeah.
I stayed out there in that misery. Till finally one day, I got to that point that our literature talks about, that utter desperation. You know, I was at the end of the road at that point. I don't know if y'all know that point when you say, oh God, please help me. Please, I'll do anything. Anything. Just take the pain away. And the pain was just the pain of being me. Something I couldn't face any longer. And see now, I don't get all spiritual or mystical or anything, but I do believe God talks to you. And see, that's whatever God you believe in, even if it's good or direction, I do believe God talks to you. You know, if you're an atheist, that's fine. You go, because our fellowship says there's room for all manifestations of a recovering person.
Yes, yes.
Right? You belong here too.
Yes.
But the God of my understanding, December 1st, 1995, touched my mind and says, you know what to do. And I made a phone call to an addict. 2 in the morning. And see, in Chicago, in December, it's cold. I mean, it's cold. Right? At 2 in the morning, and all he said to me was 2 things. Where you at? And I'm on my way.
Yes.
And he got out of his warm bed next to his warm wife and came and got my little old raggedy butt and got me to some help. And see, I ain't forgot that. See, that's service work.
Yeah.
Old school.
Old school.
See,
Yeah.
you don't hear much talk about 12-step calls like that today. But without that, I would have never got out of that trouble. I would have never made that call. I would never probably got that help, and I wouldn't be here today. You know. Today I stand here with 23 years, 10 months, and 22 days.
Woo! Yes.
You see, and it took service work to do that. Here's another thing. That night when I was in pain and I said, "Oh God, help me," I made a promise. I said, if you take this pain away, I will serve in any capacity that you reveal to me.
Yes.
I'll do anything. If you show me a door, I'll walk through it. And at that time, I was hurting so much that I really meant it.
Yeah.
And guess what? I still mean it.
Yeah.
I still mean it today. So I found the program. And then I found out that, because there's room for all manifestations of a recovering person, that my story counts too. See, I can remember when I was in school, I was pretty much a straight A student. I mean, it is what it is. School was easy for me. But I remember when I was on the street, I would dummy up just to fit in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They would say stuff that I knew was wrong, and I would agree with it just to be a part of. So, because I didn't think my story counted.
Yeah.
And I tell you, I'm saying that because no matter what your story is out here, your story counts too.
Come on.
That's right.
Come on.
No matter what it is. Because if your story didn't count, God wouldn't have you in this room to help for us to help each other. I've been blessed with good sponsorship over the years. Very good sponsorship. I can remember my very first sponsor, Jesse L. Jesse said, I went to 28 days of treatment and I spent 11 months in a halfway house before I came back home. I need to let you know that. So if you have any doubts, and if somebody tells you that you might need some more help or some outside help or this, that, and another, and you're questioning it, pray on it.
Yeah.
Because, see, I wasn't ready to go back earlier than that. I think if I'd have went back earlier, back to the streets and back to, because when I got out of treatment and got out of halfway house, I went back to my neighborhood. So I didn't have a chance to geographically move someplace else. I had to go back because I had a job and I had a family. So I had to go back. So the thing about it was I was scared to go back.
Yeah.
See, and I keep telling y'all about fear. I'm talking about my fears.
Yeah.
My fears, I found out that fear was the cornerstone in my wall that I had built. And see, my sponsor told me, he said, you know, the thing about walls, Joe, is they keep people out, but they keep you locked in. And you're going to have to take that wall down in order to grow. And have to trust somebody other than yourself. I know Jesse told me when I first met, he said, Joe, you're a pretty smart guy. I like that. And I said, yeah, okay. You know. Yeah, okay. He said, I just need you to do me one favor. I said, what's that? He said, I need you to go to 90 minutes in 90 days, and I need you not to say a word. He said, because you need to listen to somebody besides yourself.
Come on.
And guess what? I had told God I was going to do what he ever told me that I was going to do. So I went to 90 meetings in 90 days, and I didn't say a word. But I would call Jesse up every day and wear him out. Every day I would call him. He's like, man, you ain't got to call me like this. Look, you started this, right?
That's right.
But that's what I needed, and that's what worked for me. You know what I mean? And I said I've had good sponsorship, and I love that brother. And even when I moved to Georgia, he told me that when I got to Georgia, he said, you need to find a sponsor that you can look you in your face, because you will outsmart yourself. He said, you can still call me anytime you want to. My door is open. But you need somebody who can physically see you.
Come on.
You know?
Hello.
Ain't that something? Like I said, I've been blessed with good sponsorship. That guy taught me so much. And we were polar opposites. You know, I'm Mr. Intellectual. And he's straight street. Right? Straight street. You know, and he told me, Joe, this ain't about intellect and willpower. You can't think your way out of this. You can't willpower your way out of this. He said, there's a way to do it. He said, and he picked up the basic text and said, here it is. He said, let's do this. Right? And then he taught me about the symbol first. See, a lot of people go past that part of the book real quick. But he taught me about the balance of the symbol. That it can't be all about self. It can't be all about society. It can't be all about service. It can't be all about God. It has to be built up together.
Yes.
In order to reach a point of freedom.
That's good.
Right? So I have to work on all these things. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, this fellowship has done so much. You know, the first step allowed me to find out and define who I am and who I'm not. Right? Because, and it also showed me how terrible I was at managing my own life. You know, sitting on a bucket in an abandoned minium in the middle of December is the indication that something is unmanageable.
Okay.
Especially when the heater's on at home. And all I have to do is take my butt home.
Right.
See, because my wife was smart enough. She told me at the time, she said, just because you want to be stupid, I'm not going to let you break this family.
Now that's
She told me that.
Walmart.
She told me, she said, so you just do what you do, and I'm going to make sure that we are all right. And she did. So I didn't get to the point where I lived under bridges, or I ate out of garbage cans, or I didn't lose my house, my car, but it had nothing to do with me. Because if it was my choice, it was a fire sale.
Everything must go.
Everything must go. Right? So that's the only reason why I didn't lose everything. Like I said, you know, and when the time came and something happened between her, you know, things changed between her and I ended up getting a divorce, you know. it was easy for me to decide on what we should get, who should get what. Because the bottom line is that if she hadn't have saved it, it wouldn't have been there anyway.
Yeah.
And see, by that time I had program in me. See, y'all messed me up like that. Y'all did now. See, because I came to believe in a second step. I came to believe in a power greater than myself. I came to believe that this program was a power greater than me. I came to believe that there is a God out there, and it ain't necessarily my grandmother's God.
Okay.
Right? But I did make a decision. And that decision was to find that God of my understanding. And see, Jesse taught me that the first 3 steps was about relationships. First one gives me a relationship back with myself.
Yeah.
The second one gives me a relationship with powers greater than me. And the third one gives me that relationship back with the God of my understanding. He said the thing about relationships, Joe, is both sides have a part to play. And both sides have requirements. You need to understand the requirement of the God you claim that you're turning your will over to. You need to understand that totally. He said, I don't care what it is. It ain't none of my business. He said, but you need to understand it.
That's right.
You know? Like I said, I've just been blessed, man. You know? Like I said, I thank that brother for many days, because he's the one. And he's the one who taught me about serving in this fellowship. Because I asked him to be my sponsor. He said, you want me to be your sponsor? He said, I just got a requirement. He said, we serve in this fellowship. This sponsorship tree, we serve. He said, find something for you to do. He said, I don't care what it was. See, back then we were still smoking in the rooms. Right?
Yeah.
We were still smoking. So my first job was dumping ashtrays and sweeping and mopping the floors at the end of the meeting every day. That was my first job. Right? You know, that's what I did. And I was good at it too. Because he told me, he said, if you find a reason to come, you'll find a reason to stay.
Yeah.
And see, I remember that promise that I made to God that night. Just said, I'll do anything
Yeah.
to just take it away. So I have never forgot that. I never forgot that. So dumping ashtrays and sweeping floors and mopping floors was the least I could do. And see, that's how I look at service today. I serve today. That's not the most I could do. That's the least I could do to get my life, for having getting my life back. You know, I met my wife, my current wife, 20 years ago. I was already in recovery when I met her, and we were friends. You know, she didn't let me marry her until like 10 years ago.
Okay, that's right. That's right.
But you know, my family, my wife and my family are very much trusted servants of this fellowship as some of our members, because she doesn't complain when you call me at 2 o'clock in the morning and you say you're in trouble. You know, she doesn't complain when I'm serving in this spot over here and I'm serving over in that spot, because she knows that this is what helps me, keeps me solid and keeps me sane. You know. You know, and I have to let her know I appreciate that.
Yeah.
You know. See, that the one who left, she was the one who suffered with me when I was using. God bless her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Poor thing. Because we do what we do. Ain't no secret. We do what we do, and we do it till it can't be done no more.
Yeah. Come on.
And sometimes you cannot repair the damage that you've done.
That's right. Yeah.
So the best thing I could have did for that girl was to get out of her way and let God do what He needed to do for her in her life. Because some things are unrepairable. Sometimes I used to get offended when people who knew I was getting high start holding their purse when they seen me coming. Even after I had been clean for a while. In the beginning, you know, it was like, how dare them? But see, what happened along the way was we got a few steps in this process. And we got a few traditions in this process. And I understand the fact that some of the people that I've done harm to will never trust me again.
Come on.
And they have a right to that. I just need to be okay with the fact that they have a right to it.
Yeah. That's right. That's good.
And see, y'all taught me that in the step work now. You know? See, this program is about the 12 steps, 12 traditions, 12 concepts. This ain't just a program to stop using. This is a program of recovery.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
And one of the things that was taught to me is recovery is a series of surrenders. And no matter how long I stay clean, there's always going to be something new that I'm going to learn to surrender to.
That's right. You better share.
So I need to stick with this thing. You know, in the beginning, this program is revolutionary. Oh man, all this stuff is revealed to me. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
If you stay in it long enough, it becomes evolutionary, and we evolve into the thing that God intended us to be in the first place.
Come on.
And that's what this is about. This is not about me getting 20 some odd years and thinking that I got it. Because I told you I got normal once before. So that ain't gonna happen again. No.
Don't do it.
Yeah. You see, the things that the program has given back to me, I can't even compare.
Come on.
You know, my friend Linwood, he always says, I live a good life.
Good life.
Right, he always say that. I live a good life. And it's true. You know, today I live a good life. And it's not by accident. It's because I had surrendered to the fact that I'm willing to do the work that it takes to get better.
Yeah.
This doesn't happen by accident. It doesn't necessarily happen by osmosis. I can learn a couple things through watching you.
Yeah.
But the change comes in the steps.
Yes.
And I have to be willing to do the work. And one of the main parts of doing the work is be willing to look at me.
Yeah.
Today, I feel, you know how it talks about being acceptable, responsible, and productive members of society? I feel like I am today. My wife and I, we got 6 kids, 16 grandkids, and I got 1 great-grandkid. My grandkids run from the ages of 25 to 3.
Rough.
Ooh, tell me about it.
No retirement.
No, I'll tell you. One of my friends came over. Hey, one of my friends that came over to the house about a year ago, and he said, and I wasn't at home, but my grandson was at home. He had to get something. I said, well, just go to the house and have my grandson give it to you. So about 15 minutes later, the phone call. They go like, hey man, how old are you? I was like, why? He said, some grown ass man just walked out the door. I just started laughing, you know, because my grandsons are taller than me, bigger than me. They got more hair on their face than I do, and all that kind of stuff, you know. But that's just the way it is. But the beauty of this thing is the fellowship gave me back my family.
Come on.
See, and when I say they gave me back my family, you got to understand that roles have changed.
Yeah.
Where I used to be the person in the family that people try to avoid or try to get away from, now I'm the person that they come to.
Yeah.
Yes.
My mother died 2 years ago, last Friday. And when we were at the funeral service and stuff, my brothers looked at me and said, you're the patriarch of our family now. Because my dad is gone, my mom is gone. I was like, patriarch? What do you mean? Me? Who, me? The dope fiend?
That's right.
But the roles have changed because the work has been done.
Come on.
Yeah.
And the work is continuing because I'm not fixed yet.
That's right.
And that's my attitude. Like I said, I don't serve because it's the most I do. It's to serve because it's the least I could do.
Come on.
See, my biggest thrill is having that 3-year-old granddaughter sit on my lap, and said, you know what, Granddad? What? I love you.
Oh,
See, I'm the richest man I know, and it ain't got nothing to do with money.
yeah. Okay. Come on.
Nothing to do with money. And this is what the fellowship is giving back to me. And I see what I've learned to do is when I serve others, I get served.
Yeah.
When I help others, Jesse taught me a long time ago, he said it's hard to worry about yourself when you're helping somebody else.
Yes.
You know? See, we're talking about service. So I charge everybody in this room to get out and find some way to serve and help in this fellowship. I don't care if it is just picking up the phone. You ever been feeling like really, 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 really bad?
Yes.
And all of a sudden a phone call come out of nowhere and say, hey, how you doing, man? I was just checking on you.
Yeah.
You know? And all of a sudden your day brighten up. That's service work.
Yeah. Yes.
Just a phone call. Or you know a person is having a problem and they need a ride. Call them up and ask them, do you need me to come by and pick you up? That's what we're here for. I was taught that God didn't clean me up for me.
Come on, man. That's good.
I was taught that God cleaned me up to be a living example of what a loving God and this 12-step fellowship could do in a person's life.
Yes.
And Jesse told me, he said, he's coming. I said, who coming? He said, I don't know his name. I don't know what he looks like. He said, but if you stick around here and you do the work, one day he's going to come up to you and say, Joe, can you help me?
Yes.
So, he's coming.
Yeah.
She's coming.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
They're coming. And we need to make sure that we're here like they were here when we came.
That's
That's
right.
right. Be
Yes.
ready to serve.
And see, I know this is a new modern era and all that kind of stuff and all this technology and whatever. But the basic line is it says we need to be visible and available.
Say that again.
Visible and available. Right? That ain't what I said. That's what the literature says.
Yeah.
That ain't what I ain't just thought that up. I ain't that smart. I ain't gonna claim to be that smart. You know, and understanding that because there's room for all manifestations of a recovering person, in the Living Clean book it says that we all come in with different moral compasses.
Okay.
Right? So we all ain't gonna act the same.
Right.
Because we have different experiences.
That's right.
And just because your experience is different than mine, if I sit back and be quiet enough and watch, I might learn something from your experience. No matter how much time I got.
That's right. Yeah.
I was 10 years clean. And I was sharing. Man, I was sharing hard, raw, and strong. Ooh. MF this, F that, you know, kiss this, you know, the whole thing. And after a meeting, a guy came up to me, and he was 2 days clean. And he said, "You like 10 years clean?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "I really got a lot out of what you said." He said, "I just hope that when I get 10 years, I can say it better." Now, my first reaction was, to say, take your 2-day ass. But I understand that God works through people. And what I took it as, because I was spiritually healthy enough to receive that at that moment, that I couldn't curse. I don't curse like that at home. I can't curse at work because, you know, they have lawsuits, you know. So why am I coming to the meeting? Because I want to be like Mike and share like that. So I've been making this effort ever since that time to not curse when I share. My wife will tell you, when I'm asleep and I talk in my sleep, I be cussing somebody out. So subconsciously it's there, because she's like, I don't know who you were talking to, but you were letting them have it. Ooh, she said, you just use some terrible language. See, but having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, it says we tried to carry a message and we practice these principles in all our affairs. And that's the best thing I can do on any given day is to try and to practice.
Yeah.
It don't say we perfect it. It don't say that we get normal and have to worry about it anymore, because there's always going to be something new that I'm going to have to what? Surrender to and learn. So I have to, when that new challenge come up, I have to try to apply these principles to that challenge today. No matter what yesterday was like, I still have to try and to practice these principles. And it's not always that easy, y'all. One of my sponsees is an RCM, or Regional Service Committee member, right? And his area had some issues with him, and he called me up upset. And I said, so you're an RCM, right? He's like, yeah. I said, so you're in service, right? Like, so you're a service soldier, right? He said, yeah. I said, well, if you're a soldier, expect them to shoot at you.
That's right.
Wow. Yeah.
I said, because our literature said there are going to be internal and external forces. And most of the time, we get hit with friendly fire. How many times have we tried, have you heard, because I've done it myself. Now I'm talking about me, where I weaponize a tradition or a concept to make you accept my point.
Yeah.
And our literature says that the problem with our literature is what? Interpretation. Which means that the two of us can read the exact same line and interpret it differently.
Yeah.
But guess what? You're entitled to your interpretation, and so am I.
That's right. Come on.
What happens is it's the collective conscious gets together.
Yes. You better help.
And we come up with a solution.
Yeah.
So I don't need to weaponize a concept or tradition just to prove my point. What I need to do is learn it and understand it. Because this is what I understand today. How I interpret it today may evolve into something else tomorrow.
That's right.
Depending on where I'm at spiritually. You see, because a lot of things I don't receive until I'm spiritually fit enough to receive it.
That's right.
Something as simple as you won't get high if you don't pick up.
Right.
Until I'm spiritually fit to receive that, they're just words.
Yeah.
They're just words.
Words mean that.
And see, we have to be careful with words. Words is very powerful.
Yeah.
Be very cautious with words. Because you can do more harm with words sometimes than you can with actions.
Come on, share that. Yeah.
We read the clarity statement at the beginning of this meeting. I can remember when the clarity statement first came out. People would stop you in the middle of sharing. Oh, you can't say that. That's they just said blah, blah, blah. Weaponizing it. Now, what we do is we read it. And it's up to the groups. Even though it's something that never got WSO approved or whatever, it's still something that our groups choose to use. And the group has a certain amount of autonomy to do whatever it wants to do. And understanding and respecting that autonomy is important. Right? See, but you have a certain amount of personal response. Applying these principles in all our affairs. Here's a prime example. Let's talk the first three traditions. The first one talks about the fact that, or talks about NA unity. It talks about if I don't do my part for NA unity, I can't get clean, but neither can you. Same thing applies at home. If I come home and I be that disruptive force in my household, now you can't get no peace and I can't either. Then I have to say, like the second one says, I ain't the ultimate authority.
There you go.
Once again, we're talking about the group conscious again, the collective conscious. The collective conscious. If I go home and I know I'm not the ultimate authority at home, ain't that right, baby?
Yes, dear. Yes, man.
It is the collective conscious of my household.
Yeah.
It's when we allow God to come in. in that consciousness and make things happen. Right? And then it tells us about desire. And it works how and wise. It says that desire is not a measurable commodity.
That's right.
I mean, I can't judge your desire to do something. I can't judge people in my house desire to do the right thing or the wrong thing. That's not for me to judge. Right? So when we start talking about learning these things and applying these things in all our affairs, the steps are important for me to help me get better.
Yeah.
But I must have a working knowledge of traditions to help me be better with you too.
That's right.
And then when I'm better with you, I'm better with me. See, I don't worry about so much nowadays. My life is pretty peaceful. I used to always want to be in the mix of stuff all the time. Right now, I just like quiet.
Yes.
I just like quiet. See, at one time we had a house full of people, didn't we? Woo, good Lord, there was people everywhere all over my house. Right now, it's just me and my wife in the house, and I love it. I go sit out on my front porch, watch cars go by, but that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't need it to be flashy anymore. I can remember when I first came in, I had to be the sharpest person in the room when I first came in. I came in with the Maury Gators,
Yes, sir.
nice Dobbs or Borsalino on. That was my thing then. Because I wanted to be like Mike.
Yeah.
But what I found out was none of that filled the holes that I thought they were going to fill. And it wasn't until later on into this process of recovery, after I discovered one, in the fourth step, I found out that I had this deep-seated fear of abandonment based on my relationship that I told you guys I had with my mother. And that fed my fear. And I also told you that fear was my cornerstone to all my character defects. Right? So, once these things start being revealed to me, I had an opportunity to do something about it.
Yeah.
I had an opportunity to change. And change was necessary. See, today I'm real peaceful. Because I've looked at me, so whatever you do don't bother me as much. Jesse told me, he said, hey man, you want some peace in this program? I said, yeah. He said, you really want to learn how to get some peace? I got a tool for you. He said, what's that? Mind your own business. No, because it happened one of those situations where it's like this guy was like 13 years clean and he had met this newcomer girl and blah blah blah, and I had got up on my self-righteous soapbox. There's something about between 2 and 10 years clean, we get real self-righteous sometimes in that period, and we want to fall to the letter of the law as we've read it or as we understand it, not understanding the fact that interpretation is still up to the individual. One time. Okay.
Yeah, you there.
I'm there. So here's the thing. Here's the thing. Not only am I responsible for my recovery, I'm also responsible for my spiritual health. And I need to do things on a daily basis that feeds my spirits in a positive way.
Yes.
Because if I don't feed it in a positive way, negatives will set in. Without a doubt. I charge everybody in this room to go out and find some type of service to do for this fellowship. Because I don't know if you're anything like me. If you're anything like me, I am so grateful for what this fellowship has given me in my life.
Yes.
And it's not the material stuff, it's the 3-year-old sitting on my lap. It's the fact that the family calls me now instead of runs away from me. It's the fact that, my wife doesn't have anything to be ashamed of when she's out and about. When she's with me. Those things are worth it. And it's about finding hope and sharing hope. Because I was hopeless.
Yeah.
And you guys gave me hope and told me that I'd be okay if I stick around long enough. If I do the work. If I do the work.
Yeah.
And I'll say it again. If I do the work.
Yes.
That's the important part about this thing. It's a good day to be clean.
That's right. Yes.
Thank you guys for letting me share.